Okay. Hello, everyone. As was presented, my name is Yury. I'm with ONLYOFFICE. Today I'm going to tell you about our open source project, ONLYOFFICE, and how to extend its functionality and using plugins, for instance, and how to build a plugin from scratch. So let's get started. Now, first of all, we need to understand what is ONLYOFFICE and what features it offers. In a nutshell, ONLYOFFICE is a powerful online office suite with collaborative editors for text, documents, spreadsheets, presentations, and fillable forms. We also plan to add editors of PDF in future versions. The editors are available via a single user interface where all editing and styling tools are grouped into functional tabs. Now, Office Open XML is the core format used with ONLYOFFICE Suite. It means that our editors can seamlessly create and open docx, XLSX, and PPTX files, which guarantees the highest compatibility with the Word, Excel, and PowerPoint formats. Also, ONLYOFFICE supports other popular documents formats like ODF, but here we need to understand that we always make the conversion to the OXML format. You can even open PDF files for viewing and convert them back to docx for further editing. Now, ONLYOFFICE editors are built on top of HTML5 canvas technology. Thus, our suite is truly what you see is what you get. Other important advantages of HTML canvas technology include maximum compatibility with MS Office OXML formats and, of course, low memory consumption. Now, JavaScript is used for client-side interaction in ONLYOFFICE, and for server-side scripting, we use Node.js. This combination allows us to create a really stable and flexible product. Now, one of the biggest advantages of ONLYOFFICE Suite is the client-side performance. This makes it possible for users to work independently even if they co-edit the same file, using various access permissions, use version history, leave comments, etc. Now, ONLYOFFICE is a secure solution by design. You can deploy it on a private network, and no user data will be stored on the ONLYOFFICE server, since it stores only cache. You can also enable JSON Web Token to prevent unauthorized access to your documents, protect files with digital signatures, encrypt documents and worksheets with passwords, add watermarks, and apply copy and download restrictions. ONLYOFFICE also provides end-to-end document encryption, and the on-premise installation also provides the possibility to use IP filter parameter, which will essentially limit the access to your document server so that only a limited range of IPs can have an access to it. Now, when it comes to ONLYOFFICE, it's open source by design, so its source code is publicly available on GitHub under the terms of AGPL 3.0 license. Document processing in ONLYOFFICE is performed on the client side, which makes it possible to significantly decrease server loading. Only the file opening and file conversion processes are performed on the server side. So for instance, if you have a server with, let's say, 8-core CPU and 32 gigs of RAM, this is usually enough to open and edit almost 1,000 documents at once without any particular problems. ONLYOFFICE provides an open API that describes the platform functionality, its main methods, and various components. We did a pretty good job making the documentation as clear as possible, so it contains a lot of useful information. Third-party software developers can freely use our API to integrate ONLYOFFICE with various productivity solutions and content management applications. Another way of integrating ONLYOFFICE is the WOPI protocol. You can essentially connect ONLYOFFICE to any third-party platform using WOPI protocol or client or connector at this point. Now, today, ONLYOFFICE is integrated into more than 30 well-known and widely used platforms, such as, such integrations are possible via special connectors developed by either our team or by our technological partners or even independent developers. Now, when it comes to availability, OnlyOffice is available in various distribution formats and packages, such as, of course, Debian, RPM packages, Docker installations, Windows installations, Snap, Univention, Corporate Server, Cloud Drone, AMI, Kubernetes, One-Click Apps on DigitalOcean, Vultr, Alibaba Cloud, OVH Cloud, Artera, etc. Now, the standard editing functionality of the OnlyOffice suite can be significantly increased with the help of third-party plugins. They are available in the desktop and web versions of the editors, and there is a default set of plugins that you can use as soon as you install OnlyOffice. The most remarkable examples of pre-installed plugins are probably Photo Editor, Thesaurus, Highlight Code, Speech, and WordPress, while others require installation. For instance, such plugins as ChatGPT, or Zoom, or DeepL, or other tools like Language Tool, Grammarly, and so on. So, plugins can make OnlyOffice more powerful as they extend the functionality of the solution. For example, the YouTube plugin allows you to embed OnlyOffice, YouTube videos into your documents via the user interface and watch videos right in the documents. Well, which is something Office suites don't usually do, but OnlyOffice does it with the help of the plugin's functionality. Now, all available plugins can be accessed on the Plugins tab of the top toolbar. You can also install additional plugins via Plugins Manager, or manually, or even delete them. All available plugins can be accessed on the Plugins tab of the toolbar, as I said. So there are four main types of plugins in there. Here, we need to understand that there may be visual or non-visual plugins, or the combination of both. So what do we mean by this? For example, the photo editor would be a visual plugin because when you use it, it essentially opens up a special window which helps you to edit images right inside your document. Now, if we take a look at, for instance, Hello World plugin, which is essentially the plugin that helps developers to see how plugin works and how to create them, it is non-visual because what it does is it simply inserts Hello World in the document, and so there is no visual part here. Now, the second type includes the so-called system and non-system plugins. System plugins automatically work in the background and don't need any activation from the user. For example, the Settings System plugin allows you to detect, for instance, to protect documents with the watermarks. And non-system plugins can be activated when you click their icon on the Plugins tab. For example, the translator is a non-system plugin and starts to work only when you click its icon in the interface. But once you start it, it begins working all the time until you disable it. Okay, so finally, the last type of OnlyOffice plugins are plugins that are designed to embed OLE objects. So this means object linking and embedding. It is an external file that was created using an external application and can be embedded into another application. Well, for instance, I have already mentioned today the YouTube plugin, which is essentially the plugin that inserts the OLE object inside the editor. Okay, so now let's have a quick look at what can be done with the plugins help. If you work with bibliographies, for instance, you can make use of Zotero and the Mendeley plugins. To translate words and phrases into various languages, use Google Translate and DeepL, or in case you don't like proprietary solutions, you can go with tools like Aperture or something like that. To correct grammar mistakes, you can use Language Tool. So if you want to make audio and video calls, we have Jitsi, Zoom, Rainbow plugins that are available for you. Plugins can also add custom components and controls to the user interface of the OnlyOffice editors. A good example is the UI plugin that extends the track changes functionality. This way, it becomes easier for users to see what edits have been made by your colleagues in real time. Now, OnlyOffice plugins can enhance the user experience and the editor's functionality in numerous ways. Well, perhaps one of such examples is the autocomplete plugin, which is essentially an input assistant for the OnlyOffice editors that helps the user to input text quickly. Now, apart from additional services, plugins also make working with documents in the editors more comfortable and accessible for everyone, including, of course, people with special needs. Now, for instance, text can be read out loud via the speech plugin or automatically translated via translator plugin. Okay, so plugins also, at this point, integrate artificial intelligence that facilitates working with the documents. We have already mentioned today the ChatGPT, which you can use to get accurate answers to your questions, quickly find information, generate texts, and even get your code built. Now, our team develops new plugins for OnlyOffice all the time to make the user experience better. Over the last several months, we have added many plugins such as ChatGPT, Zoom, Zotero, Word Counter, speech recognition, and etc. Now, let's have perhaps a deeper look into some of the plugins that we have developed recently. One of such examples would be Speech Input plugin, which essentially converts your speech into text in real time and adds the text to your document. The plugin uses the Web Speech API and supports many languages, for instance, English, French, German, Italian, Spanish, Portuguese, Turkish, Chinese, and many others. Now, the Zoom plugin makes it possible to make video calls while collaborating on your documents with the team using the complete functionality of the platform right inside the editors. Now, we've already touched upon ChatGPT. The plugin integrates essentially ChatGPT with the OnlyOffice editors, helps to get accurate answers to your questions, quickly find information, generate texts, and even get your code built sometimes. So you don't really have to leave the program interface and launch any additional applications when you work on your document. You just open the plugin, send an inquiry in a free form in the text field, and click Submit. ChatGPT will process your request and insert the response back into your document in plain text. The plugin is compatible with the self-hosted and the desktop versions of OnlyOffice editors at this point. So if you want to learn more about OnlyOffice plugins and how they work, you can always refer to the official API documentations I've already mentioned today. So you can just scan this QR code and you will discover how to create and publish your plugins, how to convert VBA macros to OnlyOffice, how to use OnlyOffice API methods and events, and where to find guides and plugin examples. So if you have any questions about OnlyOffice plugins, you will find also a FAQ section in the API documentation with useful information. Now, let's say you decide to create your own plugin for OnlyOffice to add a new feature that other users might find useful. Here, you need to follow some steps. First of all, each plugin has a certain structure. You need to create a plugin folder with the config.json, index.html, and plugin.js files. Of course, don't forget to use plugin methods and events while writing the plugin code that are described in OnlyOffice API documentation. Now, each plugin consists of three core elements, as we have already mentioned. Config.json is a file, is a plugin configuration file that helps to register the plugin in the OnlyOffice editors. It basically informs the editors about what kind of plugin is being integrated, shows the path to the plugin source code, and determines how the plugin is displayed on the Plugins tab. Now, plugin code.js, as all of you know, it's the JavaScript file that contains the source code of the plugin and describes what and how must be done by the plugin. So it's essentially the coding part. This file is placed in the plugin root folder together with the config.json and index.html files. Well, the last but not least is the index.html file, which contains basically the plugin UI. It also connects the plugin code.js file and the plugin resources from the resources folder. In other words, it's more like the plugin entry point that connects the plugin.js file, the base file needed for the correct performance of the plugin, and the body of this file can contain special tags, including placeholders, where the plugin components will be inserted. Now, after you create the required files in accordance with the methods described in ONLYOFFICE API documentation, you need to adjust the style of your plugin. This is the second step. To do so, just add ONLYOFFICE style sheet to the index.html file. This can be done with the string that you can see on this slide. Now, after that, you need to localize your plugin. This step requires you creating the translations folder in the plugin directory with JSON files for each language that you want to add for the translation for. For this purpose, you need to translate the config JSON file, and to do that, open it and find all the strings in English in there. Also find all the strings you want to be localized from the index.html file and the plugin code.js files and create their list. Then create the translation folder in the plugin directory. The detailed procedure is described in our API documentation website. Now, the next step will be to prepare your plugin for publication. So, in order to do this, you need to create an about window for your plugin, add a short description and indicate the plugin version, the developer name, and the link to the official website. Then prepare icons for the plugin and put them into the main plugin folder. Here, don't forget about README file, where you can add detailed plugin description, installation, and usage instructions, known issues, and so on. Put this file into the plugin folder, and that's it. When everything is done, you essentially can proceed with the next step, which would be, in this case, testing, of course. Because, as we know, when we have created something, we have to test it first. So, for this, you just essentially need to install this plugin, test it out. If it works correctly, now it's time to get your plugin published. So all plugins for the ONLYOFFICE editors can be found at ONLYOFFICE app directory. If you want your plugin to be listed in there, you can contact ONLYOFFICE team at marketing@onlyoffice.com and tell us about your plugin. Don't forget to prepare a brief description of your plugin and tell us how it improves ONLYOFFICE editors. If we find it useful, we will most certainly check it and add it to the app directory so that other users can find it and install it. And at this point, we're always open to collaboration. Now, in version 7.2 of ONLYOFFICE Docs, we have added the brand new plugin manager, which allows you to explore all available plugins and install or remove any plugin with just one click right in the editors. Thanks to the extended API in version 7.4, released in June, plugins can now have as many windows as you want. So, for instance, you can execute a custom script in a separate window and dynamically embed in the context menu of editors. This gives you more freedom and expands the number of possible plugin usage scenarios. Now, among other new features would be drawing in the editors, combining documents, radar charts, saving objects as pictures, etc. Now, let's say a few words about macros, because we all know that editors... Yeah. We're going to wrap it up pretty soon. So with macros in ONLYOFFICE, we have to say that we do not use VBA macros, but we essentially create them using JavaScript. So in case you have some some macroses you would like to convert, you can always contact us or take a look at API documentation, and you'll be able to achieve it. Or alternatively, we will help you. Now, I would like to finish this presentation with a call to developers. We are really interested in collaborating with those who can create plugins for ONLYOFFICE and make a fair contribution to our open source project. If your expertise and passion for creating something new, you're exactly the person we need. So just create a useful plugin for the OnlyOffice editors, contact OnlyOffice team at marketing@onlyoffice.com, and make sure your plugin is available in OnlyOffice app directory, and get a special financial reward. Because, of course, we will financially reward everyone who makes good things. That's no secret. Again, so thank you very much for your time. It was very nice being on this meeting. We are rooting for open source, and as I said, we're looking for everyone who can contribute to our product. And yeah, so essentially our message is let's make a great product together. And yeah, thank you very much for your attention.